Alright, so we get to talk about circles in the coordinate plane today. Your learning target is I can write equations and graph circles in the coordinate plane. So this first part about our notes, we're going to talk about a certain equation of a circle. And the equation for a circle is given as x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, okay? We have to understand what in the world is h, what in the world is k. We're used to seeing x and y, r maybe, but h and k, what in the world? Let's go tell you what those stand for. H and k is the center of the circle. That is the very center of the circle, okay? H being the x coordinate point, k being the y coordinate point. If you ask me, you may ask why do we use hk and not x and y? Well, the reason why is because this is an equation. We need x and y, so we have to use some other variable for that coordinate point. All right, so that's the center of the circle, and r, you may have guessed it, is the radius. Okay. Now, if we look at this example shown here, we can see that the center of the circle is at the point 4, 4. Okay, so our center is at 4, 4. The radius, it makes it blatantly obvious to us. The radius is 5 units. And so the equation for this circle would be, I'm going to write it down here, x minus h, remember h is the x coordinate point for all this, so 4, so x minus 4 squared plus y minus, our y coordinate is 4, k is 4, squared again is equal to our r squared, not scared. Our radius is not scared, actually. So the r squared, r is 5. 5 squared is just 25. So that would be the equation for this circle. All right, let's do example 1 now. It says use the information provided to write the equation of each circle. We know that the center is 1, negative 4, and the radius is 3. So I'm just going to remind us real quick. I'm going to write back down that original formula that we had up above, the equation of a circle. We've got x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, okay? All we're going to do is plug in the pieces of information that we know. We know that 3 is our radius. This is going to be our h. This is going to be k. And so all we have to do is just plug that information in. We've got x minus h, so x minus 1 squared, plus y minus k. Now k is a negative 4. If you're subtracting a negative, all you're really doing is adding it, right? So y plus 4 squared is equal to our radius 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, and that would be how to write the actual equation of that circle. Alright, example 2 is like example 1. It says use the information provided to write the equation of each circle. And here's what we know. We know the center is negative 3, 15. Okay, so we know that's going to be our HK. And there's a point on a circle that's negative 5, 17. But if you see here, it doesn't tell us anything about our radius, which is an important part in order to actually write the equation of the circle, right? But here's what we do know. We know that if this is the center, and this is a point that's on the exterior of the circle, then the distance from here to here would be the radius, right? And something that you learn in Algebra 1, and something that we actually touched on a little bit earlier here in Geometry 2, was how to figure out the distance from 2 points. And we had to use this certain formula. It was called the distance formula, which was the square root, I'm going to write it over here, square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, that was the distance formula that we were able to use in order to figure out the distance from point to point. And so we can use this to actually figure out what is the distance from the center to the point of the circle, or what is the radius, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and use this as x1, y1. The center is going to be our x1, y1, and that point on the outside circle is going to be our x2, y2. Okay, so we've got the square root. I'm just using information from this. If this is my x1, y1, and this is my x2, y2, all I'm doing is putting these numbers and plugging it into my formula. x2 is negative 5, x1 is negative 3, and if we're subtracting a negative number, we're really just adding it, right? So negative 5 plus 3 squared plus y2 is 17 minus y1, which is 15, and we're going to square that too. Okay, now it's just solving. Negative 5 plus 3. Negative 5 plus 3 is a negative 2, so we're going to have a negative 2 squared. Plus 17 minus 15 is 2, so we're going to also have a 2 squared. And we know negative 2 squared is 4, and a positive 2 squared is 4, so we end up with the square root of 4 plus 4, which is going to give us the square root of 8. And I'm going to just leave it like that for now. And I'm going to go back to actually setting up my, my equation. So we've got x minus h. Remember x minus h, it's written up here as well. X minus h. H is the first coordinate of the center, the x coordinate of the center, which is negative 3. So x minus a negative 3 means we're really just adding that. We're going to have x plus 3 squared. Plus y minus k. K is 15, so y minus 15 squared is equal to our radius squared. And we have the square root of 8. The square root of 8 squared is just going to be 8. Anytime you have a square root and you square it, they cancel each other out. And so we're left with just 8. And this would then be our answer for example 2. Alright, let's do one last example here. It says identify the center and the radius. Okay, so we're going to identify the center, and then we're going to figure out what the radius is. And after we've done both of those, then we're going to attempt to draw out that circle, right? It says we have x plus 1 squared plus y squared equals 16, and we want to figure out what the center is. Now remember, the x coordinate of the center, it said x minus the h was the center. And now if this is a plus, that means that our center must have been a negative 1. Essentially what we're doing is to figure out what the center is, we want this to equal 0. Negative 1 plus 1 will be 0. And we see here, if we were to substitute this back in, if we were to create the equation again, it would be x minus h. X minus a negative 1 is 1. Okay. Now our y value, we might get a little confused by this. All it is y squared. And the only time that would happen is if k was 0, right? Because if it was y plus 0 squared, then that would be what our answer would be. It would just be y squared. Okay, and so y, our k value right here for the center, is actually going to be 0. Now our radius is, remember the end of this equation, our radius is squared. So the square root of 16 will give us our radius, and that means that our radius is just 4. Alright, so now we need to plug in our center. Our center is at negative 1, 0. So negative 1, 0 is this point right here. And our radius is 4. So the easiest way to do this, the easiest way to actually sketch the graph, would be to go out 4 places in all 4 directions, right? And mark 4 units away for every single spot. Alright, and now we've got this this diagram. We know that this point is the center and these 4 are on the exterior of the circle. So what we have to do now is to actually graph the circle. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. To be completely accurate, you should use a compass, but I'm not going to be too picky. If you have the 4 spots right here and they're pretty, at least these 4 spots are accurate, that's all I really care about. So then you guys know I'm a great artist, so watch this work of art be displayed here because it's mad skills, right? It's gonna look something like that. Like I said, I want it to look similar to a circle. If you do something like that with at least all 4 points going through at the correct location, that's really all that I care about. Now that you're finished with the notes and you know exactly how to write an equation and graph circles in the coordinate plane. Now I want you to go down to those practice problems, okay? Practice A has a center of 15.5 point on a circle of 18.4. You want to write an equation for that. And then practice B, you're just going to graph just like we did for example 3 here. So this is like example 2, this is like example 3. If you need a little bit more space to work, go ahead and use a separate sheet of paper. All right, good luck. Thanks.